When Donald Trump campaigned for president, there was one promise he repeatedly made. He said he would drain the swamp. It was an appealing phrase that he threw out at rallies and on Twitter, a commitment to reshape the way business worked in the nation's capital. To Trump, draining the swamp originally meant putting restrictions on lobbying. It was narrow and targeted just one aspect of government. But once he took office, something changed. The phrase expanded to include other things and other goals. The swamp was suddenly the politicians he didn't like. It was the media that he felt was spreading lies. It was anyone who said anything critical of him. The swamp was suddenly much bigger, and the promise to drain it much more convoluted. So what has the draining process looked like? So far, it's meant violating the norms of governing. It's meant discrediting government workers as a so-called deep state out to undermine the administration. It has meant a single-minded drive to reverse the decisions of his predecessor and an obsessive focus on his former rival. He insisted that so many things were bad deals, deals he never would have done, deals he would renegotiate or terminate entirely. To assist him in the draining, Trump appointed people to government positions who were political novices. But at times, these subordinates paradoxically seemed to work against good government. Questions lingered about who was actually calling the shots, and like any group of politicians, some have been successful, while others were forced to resign. It was an intriguing experiment about whether an administration of outsiders could reform the way politics works. But the question is, was the swamp truly as reprehensible as it's made out to be? Or was the swamp, and the people who were a part of it, actually how a government is supposed to function? The story you are about to hear takes place before the rise of Donald Trump and far away from Washington, D.C. Years before Drain the Swamp became a rallying cry, a small city found itself caught in its own battle between the establishment and a small group of political outsiders that decided enough was enough. They started to win elections, they started to have control, and they started to actually change the city. What happened next looked very different depending on what side you were on. Did these fresh faces clean up the government by blowing the whistle on corruption and chasing away its enablers? Or did these amateurs bully, sabotage, and bumble their way through one crisis after another? It turns out, when a city tried to drain the swamp, it wasn't pretty. From City Council Chronicles, I'm Michael Karlik.
You are holding the rest of the city hostage.
I don't want to be threatened or bullied into anything.
I'm not going to sit here and listen to lies.
I'm not going to let you throw another temper tantrum and get your way.
It's crazy. It is crazy.
They started to track my internet activity.
I need help.
Tear It Down, coming on May 10th. Subscribe now on iTunes and visit tearitdownpodcast.com.